Power BI is a business analytics service by Microsoft, and its only aim is to provide interactive visualizations and business intelligence capabilities with an interface simple enough for end users to create their own reports and dashboards. Hi everyone, welcome to today's session on IPL Data Visualization with Power BI. So if you're someone who's not from India, IPL is the Indian Premier League, which is a professional 2020 cricket league in India, and it is usually contested between March and May of every year by 8 teams representing 8 different cities or states of India. Now, the league was founded by the Board of Control for Cricket in India in 2007, and it's been going on since then. So today what we'll be doing is we'll download the IPL dataset from Kaggle, and we'll visualize this dataset on Power BI. Before we move ahead, let me address the agenda. Firstly, there'll be an introduction to Power BI. We'll also discuss the various components of Power BI. Then we'll also go ahead and discuss the building blocks in Power BI. We will also discuss the various types of Power BI storage mode. And then we'll move ahead to the demo part and install Power BI Desktop and discuss its user interface. We will also download the dataset and finally visualize the dataset with Power BI. Introduction to Power BI. Firstly, we will understand why do we need Power BI. So let's see one of the challenges that is faced in the recent times. Now, being into taxi rental business, the owners have wanted to cut short the number of accidents in which their company has been involved. They had to maintain every minute details of all the data related to the accidents that have happened in the past 3 years, but all are in Google Sheets and they don't really have any pointers on where to start the analysis from. Now, being a very small company, but with passion to give better services, they wanted a very effective solution for this within their budget constraints. So what could be the solution to this problem? Considering the given situation where there was a budget constraint, but the expectations were too high, Microsoft's Power BI is what was suggested to them. To start with, they did a small POC where they fetched the data from the Google Sheets and showed them a visualization which really plotted the sum of accidents by weekday and time range and various factors, And this really gave them a chance to answer a very simple question: which weekday and time is most accident prone? And the best part was they could compare this year on year, quarter on quarter, and month on month. Then they started the flow of reports where they developed different types of reports like weekday versus time reports, car model versus make report, income versus expense report, even roll up accident counts report, and also you can create a regression analysis for future accidents. The solution was really simple, that is Power BI, to visualize all of this and really get an insight of when the accidents really took place. So Power BI is definitely one of the solutions to many of these kind of problems in the real world today. It will allow you to visualize data and it will really help you and give you an insight for real world problems. So you can really just solve it in like very less amount of time. So now that we understood the need of Power BI, let's move ahead and understand what is Power BI. Now, Power BI is a very powerful data visualization and business analytics tool provided by Microsoft. We've already discussed in the first part of the session. Now, what it really does is it provides interactive visualizations. It helps you create dashboards and Power BI reports with self-service capabilities. Now, using this tool, we can connect with various data sources like Excel, text or CSV files, SQL, Oracle, and much more. You can also import external data sources from Kaggle, data.gov, or any other website where you can just download external data and then import it into Power BI. So now that we have a brief idea of what is Power BI, let's move ahead and understand who really uses Power BI. Now, one of the reasons why all of them can use this is because it's very easy to use. Now, within a few clicks, you can create attractive visualizations for your business, and no longer business users really can depend on IT person for gathering, transforming, and analyzing the data. Now that we have an idea as to who can use this tool, let's move ahead and discuss the various components of Power BI. Now, there are 4 different components of Power BI. The first one is Power BI Desktop, which we'll be working in this session. So I recommend you to understand about Power BI Desktop a little more better. It is basically a free desktop application where you can install this in your local computer or machine. And it is also used to create reports and data visualizations on any particular data set. The other component is Power BI Gateway. Now, Power BI Gateway is really used to create connections between Power BI Cloud reports, dataset, and the data source located on premise. And this can be used for really private data sets or very confidential data sets. And the next component is the Power BI mobile applications. Now, using Power BI mobile applications, you can really just stay connected to the data from anywhere. So, this Power BI applications are available on Windows, iOS, and Android platforms. The next one is Power BI Service. Now, Power BI Service really allows you to publish Power BI desktop reports and data visualizations into cloud, that is Power BI Cloud. So, Power BI also has cloud, which is extremely accessible and resourceful. So, you can really choose how much of resources that you want to utilize on the cloud, and you don't really have to pay extra, or you don't really have to waste resources when you're working on Power BI. Now that we've also discussed the various Power BI components, let's discuss the various building blocks in Power BI. Now, there are 5 most important building blocks that I'd like to mention. The first one is definitely visualizations. So, visualization is simply a representation of data using dataset in Power BI report like line chart. It could be a bar chart. It could also be a column chart, a map, a matrix. You're really representing this in form of pie charts or straight line charts. It could be anything, but this is one of the most important building blocks in Power BI, that is visualization. The second one is dashboards. Now, dashboards is simply a single screen representation of multiple visualizations. Now, for example, if you want to present some data set to your boss or your manager in office, and what you can really do is you can really just pick this data set and really create a dashboard out of it. So this will just be a single sheet with all the representations given in that particular sheet. So that is what dashboards are. So you can really present this, and it's really easy to understand and play around with this. You can make changes easy according to your manager or people who are really watching your presentation, and you can enjoy your visualizations on a dashboard. The third building block is reports. Reports is another important part, which is basically a collection of visualizations that really appear together on one or more pages. So, reports could be a summary of events that happened over time. If you want to visualize data for over a period of time, or months or years, then definitely reports is the right option. You could create reports and then present it and make analysis out of these reports. The next building blocks in Power BI is data sets. Now, data sets, as we all know, is a collection of data that Power BI uses to create its visualization. The heart of Power BI is data sets. Without data sets, you can't make visualizations, right? So, data sets are really important. The next one is tiles. Now, tiles is a single visualization in a report or on a dashboard like pie chart in dashboard or report. So now if you're representing various, representations of data that you've collected in a dashboard, now each of this data that you've represented in the dashboards or reports, all of these are in the form of tiles. Okay. So you can think of this as bricks. So you'll need bricks to build a house, right? So you can think of tiles as bricks, which finally create the house, and the house could be a report or a dashboard or just certain visualizations. So I hope this is clear. Building blocks in Power BI is a very important topic in Power BI. So I hope I made this clear for you. So let's move ahead and talk about the types of Power BI storage modes. Now, there are 2 types of Power BI storage mode. The first one is the direct query mode. The second one is the import mode. So the direct query mode is a data connectivity mode that really allows you to direct connection with a live database. Repeat. So the direct query mode is basically a data connectivity mode that allows you to directly connect with a live database. It does not really load or copy data into the Power BI model because data really directly comes from data sources. So when you click or interact with any visualization in the direct query mode, due to the direct connection mode queries, they are directly hit to the database and you get the updated data into the visualization. So there is really no need to refresh the data as such. In the import mode, on the other hand, the Power BI desktop stores the data inside of the Power BI cache. Now, if your data size is less than 1 GB, for example, or data not continually changing, then you can definitely use the import mode. Import mode is very fast compared to direct query mode because all the data comes from Power BI desktop cache. So you can use this mode to develop and testing purpose. But one thing is you have to change your data source mode as a direct query mode for production. It will depend on your organization whether you want to change this or not. Another important point is that when you choose import mode, in that case, Power BI fetches the data from given source and loads it into Power BI cache. And this is just a one-time activity. You can later schedule or refresh to get the latest data. With this, let's move ahead and install Power BI Desktop and check out its UI. Okay, so let's go ahead and download Power BI Desktop. I'm just going to Google Power BI Desktop. So if you click the first link, it will redirect you to the repeat. So if you click the first link that is available in Google, it will redirect you to the Microsoft official website where you can download Power BI. Okay, so the only requirement for Power BI is you will have to have a Microsoft account. If you have it, then you're good to go. So I'm just going to click download free, and this will redirect me to Microsoft Store. And here you should click the install button. So once you enter your credentials in Power BI Desktop, you can just download it. Since I already have this downloaded, I don't really have to download this again. So once you have this setup installed, you'll just get a pop-up that says, welcome to Microsoft Power BI Desktop Setup Wizard. And you can just click next. Here, because I've already installed it, it says either remove or repair. But if you're installing it as a new user, then you'll get an option to select the location of where you want it to install. You can agree to the license, and then it'll finally install on your desktop. I hope that is clear. So once that is done, you can see that I have Power BI Desktop on my desktop. And once I click on that, it will just allow me to get started, and I have pop-ups that occur. So first thing what we're going to do is we're quickly going to talk about the interface. So the interface is very interesting. It's very easy to understand too. It's not very complicated. You can see you have a menu on top. You have, as usual, file where you can create a new file. You can save those files. You can get data. You can import, export. You can check out options and settings. You can also get started. You can sign in. You can read about Power BI too and things like that. Okay. Once that is done, you also have home, and this will just redirect you to the home page of Power BI Desktop. You can also insert new pages. You can add a blank page, you can add duplicate pages, you can add visuals. These are a little more complicated as of now. We don't really have to discuss this, but maybe elements are important. You can add text boxes, buttons, shapes, images. All of this may be useful later on. Also in the modeling option, you can add tables, you can add new parameters, you can choose a language. That's great. And in the view option, you can pick themes, right? There's current default themes. You have city park, you have classic theme, you have classrooms. You also have page views, you have mobile layouts, and you also have filters. You can put grid lines if you want an idea of how to create your visualizations, all of that. And if you want any help with the community of Power BI, Microsoft has a great set of community. You have guided learning, you have training videos, you have documentation, you have various examples. This is great. Okay. So once that is done, I'll just quickly switch back to home. And you can see that this page that we currently on, that is home, is very, very important. Okay. This is where you'll be mostly working on. So this is pretty important. Here you have the get data option. And this is where you're going to import your common data sources. This is where you're going to be getting your data sources from. So you can get your data sources in form of Excel sheets. You can also get Power BI data sets, data flows. You can also get in terms of SQL Server, text or CSV files, even via web, and also blank queries and much more. You have a lot more options you can get your data from. Okay. And you can also import data from a Microsoft Excel workbook. You can create a live connection to data sets in the Power BI service, that is cloud service. You can also obviously import SQL Server database, which is really important. Most of the organizations work on SQL Server. So importing data from SQL Server might be a very, common option when you're working on Power BI. So they've just given a separate icon to import data from a SQL Server database. And you can also create a new table by really typing or pasting in new content. You can create your own database, right? If you have small content and you want to go ahead and create it yourself, you can just enter data by yourself by clicking this option. And the data verse option will allow you to connect through its SQL endpoint. This is not really that important for now. And you can also manage and connect to recent resources. Right now we don't have any, so it just says more. You can also transform data. Okay, so this is a really interesting option that is present on Power BI. You can really, add queries and transform data as you'd like to. So this will really allow you to do that, right? Transform data. And moving on, you can create new visuals, you can add new text box, you can create more visuals, and a lot of things. So I clicked the create new visual and it just created a new visual for me. I'm just going to remove this for now. Okay. And you can create new measures. There's an option for calculations, there is an option for sensitivity, and you can also publish it, you can share it with your friends. So these are few options that are available at home. Now, if you look at the bottom, you can see page 1. If you want a new page, you can click the plus icon and it will create a new page for you. And you can just shift around with your pages. Okay. And if you click another plus button, it's just going to shift you to page 3, page 4, etc. If you want to delete it, you can just click the delete option, the remove option, and it will delete the page. Okay. We don't need 3 pages as of now. So I'm just going to delete all of the pages except page 1. So that is done. Now, the interesting part is you have filters, you have visualizations, and you have fields. You can just click on these arrows to hide all of these options. And since we're going to be learning about them, we'll just open them. So the filters will allow you to search any of the data fields that are present here. You can add data fields that are there. And the visualization is the most important part. So fields will just allow you to really import the data. If you import the data, all of the data and its tables and the entire content of the data that you've imported will turn up in the fields option. We'll see that when we download the IPL data. And when we import that, you'll be able to see the data here. Okay. So once that is done, you can visualize the data. So you can just drag and drop the data and you can choose various visualizations. You can choose a bar chart, you can use a pie chart, you can use R script visualizations, you can use tables, you can use matrix tables, you can also use charts, and you can also use maps. You can really visualize these data in various forms, like forms that you could never imagine. And that's the real advantage of Power BI. It will allow you to play through your data and really get a hang of it and, really understand your data in detail. And you can also, add the data fields here which you'd like and then choose the visualization for that data. So you can really have fun with your data using Power BI. Now with this, let's move on to the left side of Power BI. You can see the 3 icons. The first one says report, the second one says data, and the third one says model. Currently, we're on the report option. If you click the data option, the screen changes. And if you click the model option, then the screen will change too. So this will just allow you to create reports and visualize your data in a certain way. This will just give you an overview of your data. So the model option will just make you really identify data sources and create relationships between your data. Currently, in this session, we'll just be working on reports, so we don't really have to bother with data and model. And this is all for the user interface. It's pretty easy, right? It's not rocket science, it's very easy. Now let's go ahead and download our data set. Now I'm just going to go to Google and click Kaggle. If you aren't part of this community where you can download any data for free, then you've definitely been missing out on a lot. Definitely sign in and create an account on Kaggle because you'll be able to download a lot of data sets and really, work on them. I'm just going to search for IPL dataset and I'm just going to scroll a bit down. And you can see here there's a data set by Prateek Bhardwaj, and there is a complete data set of IPL from 2008 to 2020. I'm just going to click on this. Now let's see what he has on his data set. So you can see that there are 2 data sets. One is ball by ball and the other one is matches. Okay. So I'm happy with this. They're just 2 files and we'll just import both of these files. And I'm just going to click on the download button and this will automatically download the zip file of this data set. Once that is done, I'm just going to check out the first data sets, that the ball by ball data sets. Here you have the ID, you have innings, you have the number of overs, the number of balls, the batsman and non-striker, bowler, batsman, extra run, total runs. You have a lot of information. The bowling team, there are around 8 teams in the IPL. You can see that that's mentioned here. There's batting team, there's bowling team. And this just gives you a ball by ball information. That's a lot of data. Okay. I'm just going to close this, and then we're just going to check out the matches data set. Here you can see the ID, you can see the city, the date, you can see the man of the match here, the venue, and you can see the teams who won the toss and what was the decision after they won the toss, the winner, the result, and there are a lot of information, the empires of the match. All of that is given in the matches data set. So this is great. I am happy with this data set. So I'm going to go ahead and import this in my Power BI desktop. So now I'm just going to click get data, and I'm just going to click text to CSV. Just going to go to downloads, archive, and I'm just going to import ball by ball first. And I'm just going to click load. Now you can see that automatically in the field section, all of the data in the ball by ball data set has been automatically loaded and placed in the field section. Now I'm just going to again click get data, and I'm just going to click text to CSV, and I'm just going to click IPL matches data set, and I'm going to open that. I'm going to click load. Once that is done, you can see that you have the IPL matches data set in the below, and I'm just going to click this. Okay. And you can see that you can just click these buttons to really select the data that you want to use. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to visualize some data. Okay. So let's visualize the batsmen that have been playing in IPL. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to view the batsmen that are currently playing in IPL, okay, from 2008 to 2020. So I'm just going to drag batsmen and I'm going to drop it in the between. And you can see that there are a list of batsmen according to the alphabetical order. Now, if I want to visualize this on a column chart, I am just going to drag batsmen again, and I'm just going to add it in the values field. And this will just give me an overview of the count of batsmen by batsmen. Okay. As you can see that Virat Kohli is currently the batsman who's made the most number of runs in IPL, followed by S. Dhawan. So now that we have represented the count of batsmen in the form of bar charts, what we're going to do now is we're going to give colors to each of these. So we're going to change the colors of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the paint bar icon, and I'm gonna click on data colors. Once that is done, if I scroll down, you have the option that says off. Okay, it says show all off. I'm just gonna click this to on, and you can see that you can really select colors for each of these. Because Virat Kohli has been playing for RCB, and RCB is represented mainly by red and black color, mostly red from the past how many ever years it's been there. I'm just going to click on a red color for RCB. Just going to click on more colors. I'm going to pick a more precise color. Okay, this looks great. And here you go. You have red color for RCB. And then you can change the colors for all of them, all of the legends. And you can really play around, It's great. So this is to represent in terms of, bar charts. And if you hover your mouse over each of these legends, you can see the names and you can see the number of runs they've scored over the entire course of IPL. It says 4,609, but I don't think it's very accurate. It says S. Dhawan scored 4,208, and then it says RG Sharma scored 4,088, and so on. So the number of runs scored by the batsmen throughout the IPL is mentioned over these legends. So if you want to filter out batsmen only from a particular team, you can just look for them and then just select them and then just make a bar of them, right? That makes more sense. That's one filter you could play around with. You can also add data fields here. Now, if you scroll down, you have an option that says count of batsmen is all. Show items when the value is less than 4,000 and is greater than 2,000. And I'm going to apply this filter. And you can see the list of batsmen. The first one is David Warner. The second one is R.V. Uthappa, 𝐿 Gambhir, and so on. So you can really, play around with queries also on the filter side. And you can visualize on the visualization side, and on the field side, you can pick your data. So this is amazing, right? Now let's create a pie chart for the bowlers. So as usual, I'm just going to grab my bowler and I'm just going to drop it on the page. And you can see there's a list of bowlers that are mentioned here. So what we're going to do is we are going to click the pie chart option. And what we're going to do is we're just going to again drag bowler here and then going to add it in the values field. That is, we're going to drag and drop it in the values field. So as you can see, there are a lot of bowlers. The first one on the list is Harbhajan Singh. So we're just going to make this list a little more small. So as you can see here, the pie chart already has various colors assigned to various bowlers, right? This is not the case in the bar chart. So that's the disadvantage. If you want to represent different teams or different bowlers or batsmen in different colors, in a short amount of time, if you don't have that much time, you could just pick a pie chart. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add filters, okay? So count of bowler is less than, maybe you could say 2,000 and is greater than 1,000. And I'm just going to apply this filter. You can see the bar is much more better in visualization. I'm just going to move this in the side. You can reduce this more if you'd like to. So in page 1, what I've done is I've just represented the number of batsmen and their runs, and also the number of bowlers and the number of balls they have bowled. So I hope this is clear. It's really simple, right? It's not really that complicated. There's a lot more to learn when you keep exploring Power BI. So let's now go to page 2, okay? Now what we're going to do is let's scroll down. Let's look for something interesting. Let's look at IPL matches dataset. Let's represent toss winner, okay? I'm just going to grab this and I'm just going to drop it in the page. And I'm going to represent this in the form of a donut chart, okay? I'm going to again grab toss winner and I'm just going to add it in the values field. And if I make this big, you can see that Mumbai Indians has won the most number of tosses in IPL. Throughout all the IPLs, Mumbai Indians has won the most number of tosses. Okay, moving on, we have Kolkata Knight Riders, then we have Chennai Super Kings, followed by Rajasthan Royals, then we have RCB, and then we have Kings 11 Punjab, and so on. This is a really nice way to represent a small amount of data, the donut chart, because it's very evident that Mumbai Indians won the most number of tosses. Let's create another page. Let's also check out the venue. Let's represent the venue, okay? I'm just going to drag and drop this. I'm going to represent this as a bar chart. Again, I'm going to drag and drop the venue in the values field. And I've represented in the bar chart, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little big. So you can see that the number of matches that are played in Eden Gardens, Kolkata is the maximum, that is 77. And then we have the Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium, then the Wankhede Stadium, followed by M. Chinnaswamy Stadium, and etc. The list goes on. So the thing about Power BI is that you cannot manipulate the data. You cannot make changes to the data set. Okay. All you can do is you can visualize it in any form and you can just reduce the size of the data, and you can also view what particular data or specify what kind of data you really want to see. But you can't really make changes to the data. That is important to know. And again, you can add a lot of filters like is less than or equal to, is greater than, is not, is blank, is not blank. All of that filters can be easily added so you can represent your data. There's an interesting data that is available that says winner. So let's check that out. I'm just going to drag and drop this. And then I'm just going to click on pie chart. I'm just going to drag and drop winner in the values field. And you can see that again, Mumbai Indians has taken over by winning 120 matches, followed by Chennai Super Kings by winning 106, and then followed by Kolkata Knight Riders, and then Royal Challengers Bangalore, then Kings 11 Punjab, Rajasthan Royals, and so on. So this is really what Power BI is all about. You can play around with all of the data. There's so much data, especially in the IPL dataset. You have batting team, you have extra types, innings. I showed you the most basic ones, but if you're really interested in knowing the intricate details of all of these IPL teams and really understanding and getting an insight of the past, form of all of these teams, you can really represent these in terms of all these visualizations, add filters, really play around. You don't really have to put a constraint to yourself. I have just showed you the most basic things. I have created a bar stack. I've made use of a bar chart. I've made use of a column chart. I've just made use of a donut chart. And then also I've made use of a pie chart. I've also made use of the basic fields, that is the batsman, bowler, the venues, and the winners who have won the number of matches, and things like that, the venue also. So this is really basic, but I hope this helps you to give a kickstart to your IPL data visualization and you really get to play along with it more. So if you have any queries at all, please leave them in the comment section below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. With this, we come to the end of today's session. Until next time, thank you.